Jason Harley Clofer, a 41-year-old disabled man living in Murphy, North Carolina, was sleeping alongside his wife inside their home, a camper trailer parked on their property on Upper Bear Paw Road, when they were suddenly woken up very early in the morning by something extremely unsettling. And the craziest part is that everything was captured on the security camera they had set up inside the camper. Now, let me explain why they were woken up in the first place. On December 12, 2022, just before 11:20 p.m., someone called 911 claiming to be Clofer's neighbor. The caller was a woman named Emily Floyd, and she reported hearing fireworks, loud arguments, and possible gunshots coming from Jason's trailer. She also told dispatchers that she feared he may have harmed his wife and warned them that Jason was armed and dangerous. Police immediately responded to the property, but deputies at the scene were unable to make contact with anyone inside the camper. Fearing they might be dealing with a hostage situation, authorities obtained a search warrant and eventually called in the Cherokee Indian Police Department SWAT team to assist. Fast forward several hours later, it was now 4:54 a.m. Jason and his wife were asleep the entire time, not screaming, not arguing, just sleeping and dreaming while a full SWAT team stood outside their trailer. Then suddenly, officers opened the door and deployed a robotic camera inside to see what was happening. Both Jason and his wife were completely confused about what was happening. They had just woken up with no idea that police had surrounded their trailer for hours. Jason lit up a cigarette and got up to check what was going on. As he was walking toward the door, he suddenly noticed something sitting in the middle of the trailer. Confused, he looked at it like, "What the hell is this?" and picked it up. That was one of the worst things he could have done. But at the same time, he had literally just woken up. He had no clue what was happening outside, no clue police were there, and no idea that the object in his hands was actually a robotic camera deployed by SWAT. Still holding the robot, Jason walked to the door and opened it. And that's where things became truly unsettling.
I'm shot! What the hell? I'm shot! He's shot! What the hell did you do? Fuck! I can't! I'm shot! I'm shot! He's shot! He's shot! No! No! Oh, shot! No! He can't! He's shot! I'm shot! He's disabled! He's shot! Please! Shot! Can't hear us! I can't hear us!
Officers rushed into the trailer, sweeping the entire place with guns drawn, while Jason was lying on the ground in critical condition, desperately needing help. The reason they had opened fire was because they believed he had a weapon in his hand, but in reality, he was only holding the robotic camera they had thrown inside moments earlier. Jason was eventually pulled out of the trailer and rushed to the hospital. He had been shot in the chest and arm, with bullets tearing through his liver, stomach, and even the lining around his heart. He spent an entire week hospitalized, waking up from surgery with 70 staples across his chest, 20 stitches in his arm, and a tube down his throat. But one of the most disturbing parts came only hours after the shooting. The Cherokee County Sheriff's Office released a statement claiming that Klopfer had engaged in a verbal altercation with officers and confronted them as he came out of the camper. The way they described it made him sound like the aggressor in the situation. Jason was then charged with communicating threats, as well as resisting, obstructing, and delaying officers. And honestly, what makes this whole thing so unsettling is that the police probably would have gotten away with that version of the story, and most people would have believed it without questioning anything. But there was one thing they didn't know. Jason had a security camera inside the trailer recording everything. It captured that he wasn't resisting. It captured that he did not have a gun in his hand, and it also recorded this.
Hey, bro. Hey, cameras. Here's the firearm again.
They knew they were done. One of them couldn't hold it in and started swearing out of frustration, and the other immediately snapped back, "Shut up, we have cameras," referring to their body cams that were still recording everything. At that point, they realized Jason didn't have a gun. But what they didn't realize was that Jason's own security camera inside the trailer had captured the entire incident as well. In the aftermath, the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians Tribal Council unanimously approved an ordinance change exempting police car and body cam footage from the tribe's public records law, a move that came directly after the shooting and was widely seen as an attempt to reduce transparency. However, once the footage from inside the trailer was eventually released, it became clear why the body cam recordings were so controversial in the first place. About a month and a half after Jason Klopfer publicly released the home security footage on January 2023, the false charges against him were dropped. Despite that, in December 2023, Special Prosecutor Lance Sigmund declined to file criminal charges against any of the officers involved, and no detailed explanation was ever made public. More than 2.5 years after the shooting, law enforcement agencies agreed to settle his civil lawsuit for $10 million. Despite that outcome, Klopfer described the settlement as blood money, saying he and his wife were not celebrating, and for good reason. He received that money because he almost died that night, and because he was lucky enough to have a camera recording everything. But it really makes you think, what would have happened if he hadn't? And also, the woman who called the police, nothing happened to her. On the morning of May 5th, 2017, a 33-year-old woman was walking across Putney Bridge in London when something extremely unsettling happened, and thankfully it was captured on a camera mounted on the back of a bus. While she was just minding her own business, a jogger ran past her and suddenly pushed her into the street. She fell directly in front of an oncoming bus. The driver, traveling at around 12 miles per hour, had Formula One level reaction time and swerved just in time, missing her by only inches. If he had been going any faster or hadn't reacted instantly, she might not have survived. What's even more shocking is that the man just kept running, not even turning back to see what happened. Nobody could really come up with an explanation for why he did it, but it's clear he wasn't in a normal state of mind. Strangely, about 15 minutes later, the jogger returned to the same spot. The woman tried to confront him, but he ignored her and continued running. I think he was just in his own world and didn't care about anything around him, but this is exactly the kind of behavior that's most dangerous in society. Luckily, the bus's dash cam recorded everything, and that footage launched a police investigation. The jogger was described as a white man in his 30s, with brown eyes and short brown hair. Police reviewed 50 possible suspects and arrested 3 men, but all were released without charge. After a year of searching with no results, the case was closed in June 2018. It's crazy to think about how someone almost took a life for no clear reason and was never identified. Watching my videos will really make you realize how many people like that are out there, unpredictable, walking among us every day in cities, forests, everywhere, and you can never really know what their next move will be, but it never stops being shocking. On a night in July 2016, a couple, Jack McArcher and his girlfriend Jordan Baranskis, were at home watching TV when they eventually fell asleep on the couch. It was just an ordinary night, but the next day Jordan realized she couldn't find her purse. She started searching everywhere, turning the whole house upside down, but there was no trace of it. Of course, when she couldn't find it, she immediately started arguing with her boyfriend. Jack mentioned that she probably forgot it at the restaurant the night before, but of course it somehow ended up being his fault anyway. That's just how it goes. After arguing for a bit, they remembered that they had a security camera inside the house, probably because this wasn't the first time she had lost her purse. Jokes aside, that evening they decided to check the footage from one of their home surveillance cameras and rewound it to around 3:30 a.m., where what they saw completely terrified them. A few hours prior, the couple had fallen asleep on the couch while they were watching TV and forgot to lock the doors into the house. That allowed a hooded man to enter and sneak in undetected. He walked slowly to the top of the stairs where he noticed the couple sleeping and waited there for around 10 minutes, contemplating whether to go down the stairs or not. But to be honest, I think that he was just caught by the movie that was on the TV and stayed there and watched. A good movie is a good movie. All right? Anyways, he eventually stole her purse and he would leave with nothing else taken except that. After this video, Chicago residents in the Bucktown neighborhood were put on alert, as the man had apparently broken into multiple homes in the area, virtually undetected, even while the owners were present. Police reportedly told the couple they had never seen anything quite like it before. The surveillance cameras had originally been installed to monitor the couple's 2 dogs, not from what I joked earlier, and ended up capturing one of the creepiest home intrusion videos to go viral that year. It goes to show why you should always lock your doors. You lock them every day, and one day you fall asleep and forget, and that might be the day when someone gets inside. But you might not be so lucky to get away with only a stolen purse. This next video comes from a man who created a social media page just to post a video that his security camera captured, something that left him completely unsettled. He posted everything people had asked for, but in the end, neither him nor the audience really knew what actually happened there. So, what happened? He explains that in his living room he has a motion detection camera. Basically, it starts recording whenever something passes in front of it. On this particular day, he was at work when he received a notification that movement had been detected inside the house. He has a dog, so he thought it was probably just him moving around. But when he checked the footage, he saw this. The camera began recording even though there was nothing there. That was weird, but it got even stranger when his dog came into the frame, acting unusual, like it had noticed something in the room that wasn't visible on camera. But what was about to happen next? No one expected it. It's very difficult to notice at first, but when the footage is enhanced, you can clearly see the collar around the dog's neck being forcefully pulled by something we can't see. The man says the collar was tightly secured and couldn't possibly fall off on its own. He even made a separate video showing how tight it normally is and explaining that it can only be removed by manually opening it. At first glance, it almost looks like the dog sneezed and the collar just slipped off. But no, if you look closer, you can see the collar move in a strange, unnatural way, almost like it's being pulled by something, like there's a force or trajectory behind it. Honestly, it's hard to come up with any explanation other than something paranormal. And if you've watched my videos before, you know I always try to debunk things first. But sometimes there are situations I just can't explain. Things I've seen myself in the past and things like what happens in this video. It's also not easy to control a dog's behavior, and in this case it was clear the dog was scared. In a more recent video, the uploader shows his dog again and mentions that ever since that moment, it hasn't really been the same. And I'll be honest, that part is what makes this whole thing even more unsettling to me. So tell me what you think it was. Do you actually believe in the paranormal? In 2015, a family living in the Evergreen neighborhood of San Jose, California, came home to discover their house had been broken into. Nothing was ever recovered, and the people responsible were never identified. Following advice from police, the homeowner, a man named Bikram Singh, installed security cameras throughout the property, 6 in total, covering multiple angles inside and outside the house. What nobody knew at the time was that another break-in was already being planned. On the morning of May 8th, just before 11 a.m., the cameras started recording. 2 young men dressed in black climbed over the backyard fence. Before entering, they stopped for a moment and looked through the sliding glass door at the back of the house. Then they tried the handle and realized the door was unlocked. They walked right in. Once inside, they immediately went to the kitchen. One of them found the house phone sitting on the counter and disconnected it, which already made it clear they didn't want anyone inside calling for help. Then they started going through drawers until they found kitchen knives, which they took with them. Another camera captured them heading upstairs while holding the knives. Upstairs, they moved from room to room, checking the house. Most of them were empty. Then one of the intruders stopped outside a locked door at the end of the hallway. It was the master bedroom. He leaned closer and listened carefully. From inside, he could hear a baby crying. Inside that room was Bikram's sister-in-law, Rosie, her mother, and the family's child. Rosie had been babysitting when the intruders entered the house, and after hearing footsteps on the stairs, they locked the bedroom door and stayed quiet. The man outside called his partner over and told him there were people inside the room, but instead of leaving, they walked up to the door and started aggressively kicking it. Eventually, they managed to punch a hole through the door and even thrust the knives through the opening. And honestly, hearing a baby crying inside and still trying to force your way in while armed with knives, that's absolutely heartless. At that point, Rosie threw herself against the door from the other side, trying to hold it shut, while her mother ran into the bathroom with the baby and locked that door too. Rosie screamed that she had already called the police, and luckily, that finally caused the men to panic and run away before they could fully break into the room. When police reviewed the footage afterward, they had clear images of both intruders, their clothes, even the way they moved through the house. But despite all that, they had no names, no leads, nothing. And that's what makes this case so unsettling. These weren't people who accidentally entered an occupied house and got scared. They disconnected the phone before going upstairs. They armed themselves in the kitchen before searching the rooms. It's really hard to look at this as just a robbery attempt and not something more targeted. Shortly after the incident, a 17-year-old named Simarjeet Singh turned himself in. He wasn't one of the 2 men seen on camera, but prosecutors alleged he was the one who planned the entire thing. He was Bikram Singh's own son, and according to investigators, he had allegedly given the intruders details about the house, the layout, and the exact time to go in. Look, these burglars broke into that house once and then came back and did it again, and that's illegal. But if you already finished this video, it's legal to continue watching another one. Come on, there's another video on screen right now that YouTube thinks you'll enjoy, and honestly, YouTube always knows what you like.